I just want justice to be served for my daughter.
The mother of a young woman found dead after going missing last week speaks to Fox 26 as her alleged killer, her ex-husband, faces first-degree murder charges.
And as I laid in my bed, I thought, what if a bullet comes in through my ceiling?
Find out why this mom is afraid to be inside her own house after a New Year's Eve close call. And families and tourists alike got an unexpected surprise of their own in California's largest city. Fox 26 News at 9 starts right now.
Good evening and Happy New Year. I'm Caitlin Monty. We start off with a look at tomorrow. Fox 26 is your Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and rain, even maybe some storms, are on the way. Chief Meteorologist Dr. Jim Siebert is live in the Weather Center now. Dr. Jim, what can we expect?
Well, our best chance for rain is going to happen first thing Monday morning and maybe into the morning hours, and then things will change after that. But it's been pretty mild today. I mean, even right now we got temperatures in the 60s. Normal highs are supposed to be around 63 degrees, and it's still 66 degrees. But you can see some showers to the west of us. And what's happening is an area of low pressure is starting to form, and you can see a little bit of a spin here. It's not all that impressive, but you see this out area right in here. That is some energy that's going to sweep across southeast and central parts of Texas, and that's why the rain is expected to increase quickly, maybe some fast-hitting storms, and then moving on out of here. Now, here's the chances for severe weather tomorrow. There's only a slight risk, and Houston is right on the edge of it. Most of it, I think, is going to be up around Waco, possibly Dallas, but we are going to have a chance for maybe a strong storm or two, maybe some strong winds, but I think most of us it's going to be a rain event. But tonight, we're going to be looking at some areas of fog. We're going to time out those storms for Monday coming up in the forecast. Then after that, how about an Arctic blast across a good portion of the U.S.? What does that mean for our weather? The details coming up in the Fox Red Forecast.
Thanks, Dr. Jim. We start off with a story we've been following for weeks now. A day after Sean Philip Hardy is arrested and charged for allegedly murdering 30-year-old Ann Christine Johnson. Johnson's mother speaks out. Fox 26's Lindsay Henry spoke to Stephanie Johnson today.
Friday afternoon, League City Police served a search warrant on Sean Philip Hardy's home in the 600 block of Chesterfield Lane. Police say inside, human remains were found, believed to be those of Ann Christine Johnson, Hardy's ex-wife.
At this extent, I feel like the horror, one type of horror is ending and another is just beginning.
Johnson's mother, Stephanie, says she's been doing everything she could to help find her daughter since the day she was reported missing. She also says police have told her that Ann Christine's body was found in Hardy's garage, wrapped in a plastic sheet. However, knowing this has brought anything but closure for the mother, who is still holding out on hope.
It's an up and down pattern. Sometimes I cry and I shake uncontrollably, and then the next hour I think I'm okay, and then it hits me again.
Johnson helped bring attention to this case by being heavily involved with the search efforts.
I keep thinking she's going to walk through the door, the phone's going to ring, and she's going to tell me to shut up and stop embarrassing her on national TV. So that's not going to happen, obviously.
Now her attention has turned towards the next step, trial.
I would certainly want to be in court anytime that Sean is in court, and I plan to follow this very closely.
For Fox 26 News, I'm Lindsay Henry.
Now, Johnson says she plans on holding a memorial service for her daughter very soon. Hardy's bond has been set at $500,000. He's been charged with first-degree felony murder, tampering with evidence, and failure to report human remains. We'll continue to update you on the case as we find out more details. Now, a lot has happened in Houston on this first day of 2017. We start with a Harris County deputy who shot a suspect they say pointed a gun at law enforcement. It was just before 8 this morning on Burnham Street in southwest Harris County when deputies say a man with a knife was fighting with neighbors and stabbed another man in the hand. When deputies arrived, they entered his trailer and ordered him to exit, which is when investigators say the man came out of a room, pointed a gun at deputies, and one of them, an 11-year veteran, opened fire. The suspect later died at the hospital. Neighbors say there had been a lot of commotion all night, saying the suspect may have been trying to break into one of the homes.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a bad neighborhood, but we don't ever have issues like this, so it's uneasy for me, makes me want to leave. The
deputy who pulled the trigger will be on administrative leave as the shooting is investigated. And in West Harris County, a man is dead after being shot during a New Year's Eve party. This happened on Dry Creek around 3:30 this morning, where deputies say the homeowner and a guest got into a fight after the guest refused to leave the party. So the homeowner shot the guest. Deputies are still investigating, and a grand jury will decide whether to file charges against that homeowner. All right, buckle up, no pun intended, because this next road accident in northwest Harris County turned into a series of driver follies. Just after the new year was rung in at midnight, a man and a woman got into a fight on Grand Road near Perry. So that's how this starts. They stopped their car in the middle of the road and the man got out. But moments later, he was hit by another vehicle. Now, he was taken to the hospital in very critical condition. Authorities believe he was drunk. Now, the driver of the vehicle that hit the man was reportedly not intoxicated and not faulted due to poor lighting in the area. Well, then about an hour and a half later, while deputies were investigating the crash, they say another driver went around the roadblock and into the crime scene. They were stopped and that driver was arrested for DWI, and the passenger apparently puked. But wait, there's more. About 45 minutes later, as deputies were wrapping up, they say another drunk driver came along and slammed right into the back of one of the deputies' patrol cars. Investigators say the driver was female and, you guessed it, was drunk. Fortunately, no one was seriously injured in those follow-up crashes. Overseas, we continue to follow a developing story out of Istanbul. A massive manhunt remains underway in Turkey as authorities seek to capture a shooter who dressed as Santa and killed 39 people in a Turkish nightclub as people were celebrating the new year. John Huddy has the latest.
Turkey's prime minister says one key piece of evidence was left behind in the vicious New Year's morning attack in Istanbul, Turkey, a gun. Now, the massacre started just after 1 a.m. at the Reyna nightclub in the Ortaköy neighborhood of Istanbul. It's a popular shopping area at the foot of the Bosphorus Bridge that's filled with bars and restaurants. More than 600 people were inside the nightclub celebrating the new year when officials say the attacker shot and killed a policeman and a civilian out front and then stormed inside, spraying the place with gunfire. In the panic, some people jumped into the freezing Bosphorus River as others hid behind couches and under tables. Now, Turkey's prime minister denied reports that the gunman was wearing a Santa Claus outfit, though surveillance video shows him wearing a Santa hat inside the club. He was initially seen dressed in all black and carrying a black backpack outside the venue, though officials say it appears he may have changed once inside. So far, no group has claimed responsibility. The most brutal attacks in Turkey last year were carried out by either ISIS or Kurdish militants. Pope Francis condemned the attack in his New Year's message, along with other world leaders, including Russian President Vladimir Putin, who said that Russia stands with Turkey in fighting terrorism. The White House also called this a horrific terrorist attack, the first terrorist attack in 2017. In Jerusalem, John Huddy, Fox News.
Well, with the new year came new leadership in Harris County as dozens of elected officials took their oath of office, included newly elected Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, who you see there. The swearing-in ceremony took place at the historic 1910 courthouse on Fannin Street. Several judges and school trustees were also sworn in today. But tomorrow is when our new Harris County District Attorney, Kim Ogg, will be sworn in. Ogg won the election against soon-to-be former DA Devin Anderson in a very bitter campaign. She's promised some pretty big changes for the DA's office. How about them Texans? They wrapped up their season today and their playoff matchup is set. They will host the Raiders at Energy Stadium next weekend. Now, the Texans lost to the Raiders earlier this season by a score of 27-20 when the teams faced off in Mexico City. As for today, the Texans lost to the Titans 24-17, although the game was meaningless. Tom Savage left the game with a concussion, and Brock Osweiler finished the game and played well in the loss. Fox 26 Sports Director Mark Berman will have much more coming up in sports. Meanwhile, former Texans coach Gary Kubiak will retire, according to multiple sources. Kubiak has informed the Broncos and is expected to make the formal announcement tomorrow. Kubiak coached the Texans from 2006 to 2013. He led the Broncos to a Super Bowl title last season.
Coming up, a Houston area family falls victim to a dangerous New Year's celebration. What they found that had them fearing for their lives. North Korea's leader says the country is closer than ever to launching a dangerous weapon. And Tinseltown has a mystery on their hands tonight as its iconic sign gets changed by a prankster for 2017.
9:13, welcome back. Breaking news out of 3rd Ward right now. A woman has been found dead on Trelly Street. We have a crew on the scene, on the way anyway, and Fox 26's Lindsay Henry hopes to bring you more details soon. As soon as we get them, we'll bring them to you, so stick with us. Meanwhile, a devastating update in the case of a local 16-year-old girl who was shot and killed on Saturday, as Houston police now report the person who fired the shot was her father. This happened early Saturday morning at a home on Oak Shadows in northwest Houston. Police say the girl was at her home with her father as he was handling a pistol. Investigators say the gun went off and she was shot and killed. No charges filed so far. Police believe it was an accident. Now, speaking of gunfire accidents, this next story came to us from one of our viewers. Unfortunately, there are still folks who take part in celebratory gunfire in our area, and this gives you a pretty clear idea of why that's such a problem. It's a basic science. What goes up must come down.
You know, it's outside the city limits, so you've got fireworks, gunshots.
Matthew Aguilar lives up by Bush Intercontinental Airport in the garage apartment behind his parents' house, an area where fireworks are allowed and where family says celebratory gunfire is not uncommon.
Even after all the fireworks, you know, quiet down, we could still hear pow, 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 bang, 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 boom, 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 boom. I mean, just continuously.
After ringing in 2017 with his parents, Matthew went back to his apartment where he came closer than he ever wanted to that gunfire.
I saw something shining on the ground. I immediately noticed it. I thought, okay, could it have been mine or something like that? And went down, picked it up.
A bullet sitting among some debris on his couch.
You can see a hole in the ceiling.
He immediately called Mom.
She wanted to come over. I said, "Man, don't walk."
He goes,
over
"Don't
here."
come over here." And so I started just praying, "Oh Lord, thank you, Jesus, that nothing happened to him."
I don't know if it'd be strong enough to kill somebody, but it's pretty scary knowing that being inside my house is not safe.
We always think that it's safe being inside your house. Go inside your home. You're safe from bullets, you know, flying bullets. No, it's not true, because look, a bullet actually came inside his home.
Pretty alarming. Looking at news around Texas tonight, 3 people dead after 2 small planes collide midair in suburban Dallas. The FAA now investigating the crash, which happened in McKinney last night. Investigators say both aircraft were not in contact with air traffic control because they were flying in what's called visual flight rules. But meanwhile, in Lake Erie, police investigating the contents of a bag recovered near Cleveland as authorities continue their search for a missing plane carrying 6 people that vanished on Thursday. A beverage distribution company executive from Columbus, Ohio, was piloting the twin-engine plane. On board, his wife, their 2 teenage sons, and 2 neighbors. The plane disappeared shortly after takeoff from a Cleveland airport. In the Midwest, people of Chicago likely not proud of new statistics being released as they bid farewell to 2016. 762 people died there in homicides this year. That is the most in 2 decades and the biggest spike in 60 years. Last year, that number was 485. Now, Chicago police released the statistic today, also saying there were 1,100 more people shot compared to last year in the nation's largest city. But from alarming numbers to alarming announcements, North Korea apparently could be ready to launch an intercontinental ballistic missile, according to the country's leader, Kim Jong-un. In his annual New Year's address, the North Korean leader has now hinted to both North Korea and the world that his country is close to testing that intercontinental ballistic missile, saying the tests have, quote, reached the final stage.
Research and development of cutting-edge weapons have become active, and the intercontinental rocket missile test fire preparation got to the final stages.
Now, he did not explicitly say whether these tests were imminent, but Kim Jong-un's birthday is January 8th, and nuclear